Hello, I'm Jamie Lee Salgatar, and welcome to This Week in MedIT, your source for medical technology news, brought to you by C&G Technologies. Today, we are here with Chief Scientific Officer Sean Anderson of Abemic, a Southern California-based biotechnology company that focuses on regenerative medicine. Thank you, Sean, for joining us here today. Please tell us, who is Abemic and why focus on regenerative medicine technologies?
Abemic is a small biotechnology company that I founded in July 2010. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer of the company, and I founded it while still a grad student at UCLA. During the course of my research, I discovered a novel application in my work that would help the field of regenerative medicine. I've always been interested in regenerative medicine because I believe it's a new and exciting frontier, as it will help a number of people who presently suffer from diseases with no treatment or cure. The applications of this new brand of medicine will also extend and improve the quality of life for everyone, including the healthy. And by healthy, I mean individuals that are looking for maybe natural breast augmentation, or some wrinkled skin that would like to rub on a cream and make it more firm, or even athletes who are looking to extend the life of their career by improving cartilage and tendons.
So it seems like there's a lot of benefit. But what are some of the specific technologies that you provide that will benefit the medical industry?
The idea of regenerative medicine is to form new tissue in the body. Humans are unable to heal from extreme traumatic injuries, and after we reach our 20s, our bodies begin to decline. We get wrinkles, our muscles become sore. The aim of regenerative medicine is to reform areas of the body that are damaged. But the roadblock preventing these technologies from widespread adoption is the lack of sufficient blood vessels in the new tissue. Our technology stimulates blood vessel growth in the new tissue. Furthermore, the blood vessels are highly branched, which is important. Think of a city without streets, but only highways. It would be impossible to deliver goods everywhere that they need to be. Our technology not only forms these highways, but also boulevards and streets and alleys, and this helps facilitate the flow of nutrients that maintain access to the tissue for oxygen and removal of waste.
In reading your company summary, I know one thing that was very popular within that you guys were talking about was heparin nanoparticles. What are heparin nanoparticles?
Sure, heparin nanoparticles are beads of heparin on the nanoscale. So if you've heard of microparticles, think of about a tenth or a hundredth of the size. They're spherical and they're made out of a common drug called heparin. Heparin is normally prescribed as a blood thinner, but it's also a carbohydrate that binds important signaling proteins called growth factors. And growth factors are like conductors of an orchestra. They direct and instruct cells. When we bind growth factors to heparin nanoparticles, we stabilize the growth factor and change the interaction with the cell. In the case of making blood vessels, we change the instruction from making one or two highways to making one or two highways with the streets and the alleys that I talked about.
On a technology standpoint, what frustrations do you see or experience in technology, or the lack of it, that led to the creation of your proprietary heparin nanoparticles?
The misuse of growth factors can lead to unintended consequences, including cancer. There's a fine line we must tread between regenerative medicine and cancer in order to prevent cancer from forming. In growth factor treatments, which there aren't very many, the protein is supplied in such a high concentration because of its instability that it causes undesired side effects. Also, these proteins are small and can disperse quickly throughout the body. By binding these molecules to a larger carrier, such as the heparin nanoparticle, we prevent them from floating away and stabilize them so a much lower concentration is sufficient. This is not a new idea, but before, researchers have used non-interactive materials. Here we use heparin because it adds a unique biological signal to the growth factors that when they interact with the cells, it leads to these branched blood vessels that we talked about.
So it seems that you use quite a lot of different types of technologies in providing and researching about these heparin nanoparticles. In your experience, the interactions between medical and IT hasn't always been one that coexisted very well, but are in need of each other. What advice would you give physicians about the advancements and possible frustrations that you may have experienced within the medical IT space?
Medical and information technology are very important and complementary. Without IT, medical technology cannot advance. The amount of information that medical research is generating is impossible to keep organized without IT. The number one frustration I have dealt with is inventory management, especially with a small laboratory. Supplies are consumed quickly, and the last thing on the researcher's mind is ordering new consumables all the time. Yet at the most critical times, key products run out. A smart inventory system that can learn the habits of the lab and know when to order new supplies would be a huge convenience. Most importantly, it will keep the researcher focused on the science. I imagine the same would be true of a physician's office. Based on the rate of consumption and other variables, the system will order surgical materials as needed. The other benefit of IT is data storage. Not only is it important to have a system that can store lots of information safely, but it is also important to allow access to the information effortlessly. Multiple devices that can tap into the data at once, and also novel search algorithms that assist in gathering the information would be nice. In the physician's office, this would be, say, historical blood pressure of a patient. In the small biotech company, this would be data from an experiment or an important document. A system that allows easy comparison to historical data and the current data and can analyze the data automatically would be beneficial as well. And I could imagine in the future, we speak about personalized medicine as a society, a biosensor that could be implanted into a human body that would keep blood pressure, glucose concentration, lipid, cholesterol levels, other analyte concentrations. And it would, without IT, we can't store all this data. And when the doctor wants to access the information and compare how is this blood pressure during the night to his levels during the day, and how is the effect of medicine and the concentration of medicine, we can't do any of that without information technology. So it will play a key role as we move forward with new medical frontiers.
Who are your target markets to disperse currently and in the future?
So with these heparin nanoparticles, our goal right now is to be able to build blood vessels, and this can be applied to a number of pathologies. But what we're starting off with is diabetic foot ulcers, because there's already growth factors in that space. So the key would be, if someone has a diabetic foot ulcer that doesn't heal, we would suspend these particles into a fibrin gel and apply that gel to the foot and then wrap it in a bandage. And then over about 10 days to 2 weeks, the gel will start to become incorporated into the body and blood vessels will start to infiltrate and accelerate the healing. So that's where we're starting off. But then we can move to other space such as stroke or heart attack, where you have what's called ischemic tissue, and that's a lack of blood supply. And so by supplying these particles that stimulate blood vessel formation, we can then restore delivery of oxygen to these damaged areas to regrow heart or brain tissue. And then also we're also interested in cancer drug delivery. So with these growth factors, it's a good way to target delivery, and these heparin nanoparticles can not only be used as a signaling device, but also as a delivery device. So we could package anti-cancer therapy or radiation therapy into the particle itself and help it get delivered specifically to the cancer cells so that the healthy cells are unaffected.
So understanding that your focus is on foot diabetic ulcers and then moving towards cancer, are you guys currently in the market? Are you guys currently being used, your proprietary product?
No, we are not currently in the market. These particles were actually discovered about 1.5 years ago, and so there's a certain developmental pipeline that we have to go through. In fact, it will probably be a number of years before it's out there. But what we're trying to do is establish some cash flow by selling to a research market, and then as we develop these therapies and get them through FDA clearance, then they will be on the market sometime in the future.
So one last question for you, Sean. If someone wanted to find out more about Abemic, how would someone do that?
If someone was interested in finding out more about Abemic, they could email me at sean.anderson@abemic.com, and I would gladly reply to the email. We're working on a website right now, and that should be up in a few weeks, but until then, emailing will work.
Thank you, Sean, for sharing your insights about regenerative medicine and Abemic. That's it for this edition of This Week in MedIT for the week of February 1st, 2012. If you want to be featured on This Week in MedIT, email us at news@thisweekinmedit.tv. I am Jamie Lee Salgatar. Have a great week.